Finally, a movie about the people who read comic books. You're watching Beyond the Trailer's review of Zero Charisma.
It's Scott Wiedemeyer. We have an open seat starting Tuesday.
What kind of games do you guys host here?
As a matter of fact, we have an opening for a new player. Hey guys, this is Miles.
I brought a six-pack if anyone wants one. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. Beer's cool.
Miles is pretty funny tonight, huh, Scott?
Without a doubt, comic books have taken over Hollywood. Just look at the $1 Billion Club. Disney, Marvel, and Warner Brothers DC have 4 movies in that hallowed group, while fantasy franchise The Lord of the Rings has 2. Plus, there's a Star Wars and a Harry Potter flick in the club as well, 2 more franchises that have benefited from fanboy fervor. Yet the fanboy is rarely seen on the big screen himself. Sure, Kevin Smith represented with Clerks, and on the small screen, The Big Bang Theory dominates in ratings and awards with the highly stylized Sheldon Cooper and company. But those characters are Hollywood versions of fanboy culture. Now comes along a movie that dares to depict people who actually exist in real life. Yes, this movie is a rallying cry even beyond the fanboy. That's because Zero Charisma co-directors Andrew Matthews and Katie Graham noticed that even independent film focuses on Hollywoodized versions of everyone, young, attractive, hip people. So Matthews and Graham intentionally set out to focus on the opposite. But do audiences want to look in the mirror? One of my favorite quotes that I mentioned from time to time here on Beyond the Trailer is Alfred Hitchcock's "Cinema is not a slice of life, but a slice of cake." Yet fascinatingly, it is fanboy tastes that have distinctly trended towards realism these days. So perhaps it is time for, as Joe Blow describes Zero Charisma, a fanboy version of Taxi Driver. And fittingly, fanboy company Nerdist is co-distributing Zero Charisma along with Tribeca Film in select theaters, on-demand iTunes, and other platforms. So does Zero Charisma keep it real, or is it just a Napoleon Dynamite ripoff in fanboy clothing? This really was an honest movie, sometimes brutally so. And because of that, I not only ended up having a lot of respect for Zero Charisma, but kind of falling in love with it as well. However, I don't think it reaches a Taxi Driver level for 2 reasons. The first is that it kind of chickens out and tacks a happy ending onto the film, which I thought was a real shame. And the second is that across the board, the acting isn't bad, but it's not professional either, and I think that keeps Zero Charisma from reaching its full potential. However, the writing and directing are phenomenal, really stellar stuff, and I think this is a great step in the right direction for both Andrew Matthews and Katie Graham with their careers, and I'd be interested to see what they do next. I'd also like to point out that this isn't a comedy. It's being sold that way, and the trailer is very funny, but you've pretty much seen all the funny parts of the movie if you've seen the trailer. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't see it, because I think it's a very good drama, not only in the way it depicts fanboy culture and some dark truths about that, but also some dark truths, I think, about family. The way they show Scott interacting with his grandmother and his mother, I think is very realistic. And even if you aren't, I think even if you aren't part of the fanboy culture, but I think if you watch Beyond the Trailer, I think to some degree you are. I mean, there's varying degrees, of course. I'm a part of that culture as well, but I think you can relate even to the family aspects here. Because I just went to visit my own family in Pittsburgh, and I could see, echoes of that in what I saw in Zero Charisma, and it made me really relate to it a lot in that way as well as the fanboy aspects. Which leads me, although, to my one problem with the film, and that I was disappointed with the really dated and cliche female characters that were in the film, especially considering what an increasingly large part women are playing in fanboy culture overall. And this film has a female co-director, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. That's really, it's just a regret. I don't think it makes the film bad in any way, but I'm tired of women always being portrayed as the enemy of fanboy culture, or, that have no respect for it and think it's stupid, when so many of us don't feel that way. So that's my only problem with the film. But I really liked Zero Charisma. I think it's really a little gem of a movie, and I think it's worth seeing. So you can catch it probably in theaters, or you will be able to catch it on demand as well, and I think maybe that might be the best place to see it. But it's worth watching for sure. So that's my thoughts on Zero Charisma. Be sure to share your own down below, and I hope you check out these other reviews right now.